recording some of this stuff tonight.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, tuneful people. Good to see you again. Round two with Jamie Glaser. That's right. I'm going to take a peek at the chat right now before we get into things. Going to go back. The first one in tonight was Wayne. He's all the way here from the UK. And thank you, Wayne, for the very kind buy me a coffee last night. That was very much appreciated. Helps keep the lights on here, so thank you. Appreciate that, man. Let's see. Candy is here, the fabulous Candy. She brought lots of popcorn tonight. I'm glad because I'm a little hungry. Kay is here, of course, and she's wonderful. Always. Mike Panich is here, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Panich. All the way here from the Mon Valley in Pennsylvania. Monongahela Valley. Okay? That's a tough name for some people. I always knew when I lived in that area, when a credit card company called or somebody that didn't know me or wasn't familiar with the area, they'd say, "You live in..." They couldn't say it. Anyway, it's an old Indian name. Sage is here, and she's really cool. She's very kind. Let's see. Brian Gerard is here, and he's another cool one. And I did see the fabulous Jamie Glaser show up. He is here. I'm glad. It'd be hard to do this without him. What else? Who else? Let's see. All right. I see we have some more people. And if you're here and you're just lurking, hello out there, lurkers. You're welcome to be here. That is for certain. But it's always good if you say hello, because then I don't feel like I'm just a darn fool talking to a camera. Completely. I'm a fool anyway. Scott is here from the West Coast. Scott Jackson and Gina Jackson. They're very nice people. Very nice. All right, well, I'll tell you what. That's what's going on with the chat right now. So, going to get to next Tuesday night. Coming up on Toneful Tuesdays, I'm your host, Tony Janflone Jr. Join me Tuesday, June 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern for episode 13, featuring 2 great guests and 2 great conversations. First, I'll be talking with drummer Joe Pinciotti of Charles Wesley Godwin's band about music, touring, groove, and life behind the drums. Then, I'll be joined by Marvin Frock of Rocket Custom Guitars, a custom guitar builder creating unique, handcrafted instruments with heart, tone, and personality. It's drums, guitars, tone, stories, and real talk, all on Toneful Tuesdays. Join us Tuesday, June 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel. All right, that's next Tuesday night. I did see a couple new people. Alan is here. Hi, Alan. And we have Eric is here. And the fabulous Dave Morgan just showed up. He's a wonderful guitarist and vocalist. And he's my friend. So, hi, Dave. Awesome. Who else? I don't want to... If I miss you, it's never on purpose. It's never on purpose. Never. I'm just not always great at doing this. That's the facts. Okay. So, let's see. Well, Jamie is still here with us. So I gotta tell you about next Thursday night, because I've had a bunch of people ask me what the heck is going on with me what happened with my neck, why am I not playing shows, all that stuff. So next Thursday night, you're going to get the full story. Coming up Thursday, June 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Join me for episode 1 of Beyond the Strings Live. Thoughtful Thursdays with me, your host, Tony Janflone Jr. The first episode is called A Big Pain in the Neck. It's the story of my serious neck situation, emergency surgery, recovery, faith, and how I nearly lost music but found my way back. I hope that you'll join me live Thursday, June 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on my YouTube channel. Real quick before we keep going, if you've been enjoying Toneful Tuesdays, I'd really appreciate it if you'd take a second and subscribe to the channel. It's a small thing, but it really does make a difference. It helps the channel grow, it helps more people discover what we're doing here, and helps me bringing you great guests, meaningful conversation, music, and encouragement week after week. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much. And if you're not, I'd surely be grateful for your support. All right, let's get back to it. Okay, one more check on the chat, and then we're going to get to this interview. I see it's like Romper Room for me. What was her name? Anybody know her name on Romper Room? It's before some of your time out there. But there was a lady. She was called Miss Somebody, and she held a little something that she looked through, and she'd say, I see Dave Morgan, I see Jamie. I can't remember her name. Anyway, Alan's here, Wayne. All right. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to roll. We're going to get to this interview. So sit back and enjoy round 2 with the wonderful, the marvelous, the stupendous, the absolutely fabulously talented and funny for sure, my dear friend, Jamie Glaser. Before we begin part 2 of my interview with Jamie Glaser, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of the great Joe Negri. In this interview, during the segment where Jamie and I talk about Fred Rogers and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, we also mention Joe and wish him a happy 100th birthday because he was going to reach that milestone on June 10th. Sadly, Joe passed away just before that birthday. Out of respect and affection, I'm going to leave that birthday wish in the interview because it was said with love, admiration, and appreciation while Joe was still with us. Joe Negri was a true Pittsburgh treasure, a beautiful musician, a wonderful jazz guitarist, an educator, and someone who touched generations through his music and his presence on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. My sincere condolences go out to Joe's family, friends, students, fellow musicians, and everyone whose life was touched by him. Thank you, Joe, for the music, the kindness, and the legacy. May you rest in peace. I know that you're a great reader. I know this. I know this about you.
Thank you.
And I'd like you to talk to my audience about how important that is.
I have a course called Turn It Up, which is one of the ones I'm most proud of. And I'll tell you why. First of all, especially guitar players generally are not great readers. And that's not a put down, because guitar is an instrument of communication, of romance. Even the people in the Pony Express who might have a guitar to read the mail, it's always been, it's a social instrument. I mean, the people who play tuba can't go to the beach, and they could, I guess, but they can't serenade their girlfriends or boyfriends with their tubas. And so it's completely logical to me that a lot of guitarists don't care about reading music. Second of all, there have been so many incredible, amazing, music, world-changing musicians, guitar players who don't read. That stands as one thing that's a truth. I mean, one of my favorite bands is the Beatles, and Paul McCartney, for example, Paul, of course you know, Paul McCartney. It's funny, when I was teaching at the college, there are people that are younger than me that don't remember the Beatles. I'm like, what the heck happened? So Paul McCartney is very vocal that he feels if he had learned music theory and reading music, that his music may have never happened, that his instincts, natural instincts, and learning from the other people in Liverpool and around the world have made his songs what they are. I completely get that.
Mm-hmm.
Completely get that. I completely get why someone would want to use what they call tablature, which means it tells you what finger to put where. But I had an experience when I was very young. So in New York, earlier in our interview, I was mentioning my father was a songwriter, right? And in New York, there was an area of New York. It was on 28th Street. For those of you who've been in New York, near Broadway, it's called Tin Pan Alley. And Tin Pan Alley was named that because all the floors of all the buildings, sometimes 30 floors up, there would be a piano player playing. And the chaos especially in summertime, with all the windows open, that would in the street sound like tin pans. They named that area Tin Pan Alley. And in that area was one famous building called the Brill Building. The Brill Building was, as I recall, 50 stories high, and every single office was a music publisher. Every single office had one thing in common: a piano. So, I think people of our generation, or my generation, because you're a youngster, how much younger are you than me? 40 years?
Maybe 9 years, something like that.
I can't talk to you. You're too young. There are things that we all cherish from our generation, from our growing up, for our music, our way of doing things, our way of thinking. But this thing, I truly believe, because I've done seminars or workshops, I always find that the younger generation wishes they had this kind of thing. So basically, it was a building of music publishers, and there was a procedure. The songwriter, who was my father at that time, he still was my father. Once they got known, they wouldn't even make appointments. We would go, and this was typical. My father was a salesman. He would take Mondays off of work. We'd leave at 9 o'clock in the morning, drive into Manhattan, into New York City, and go to the Brill Building. And he'd have the 3 songs he wrote over the weekend with his partner. Every partner had to write out sheet music. Every pianist knew how to write out a chart, melody and chords. We'd walk into one office, and my father, who was not a singer by any means, my father would stare, but look at the publisher and sing the song to the publisher while his partner played the piano. This was going on in every office. You've heard stories about Carol Kay and all of the writers. Paul Williams, everybody, Rodgers and Hammerstein, George Gershwin, all Sammy Kahn, all of them were here. Everybody knew my father too. It was something to think that Rodgers and Hammerstein knew my dad. But we go, and if you were the publisher, you'd say, my father's name is Hy, like Hy. Say, Hy, it's nice. I don't know where to place it. So then my father would say, well, thank you. I remember one of my favorite publishers, his name was Lucky Carl. There's that famous music corporation, which was ABC. Then father said, Jamie, come on, we go to the next one. We go to the next office, play the same songs for the publisher. And the guy, you could tell he loves what's going on. And he says, I love that song, Hi. He says, I can get that to Sinatra, maybe Sammy Davis, Edie Gourmet, you know, all the singers of that time, Lena Horne, because in those days, people didn't write their own songs, not like the Beatles changed all that. That's what the songwriters wrote songs for artists. That's as simple as it was. And this is how I grew up. Now I'm 12 years old at this point. So the next thing is after the publisher says they like the song, was to immediately send you to the bottom floor, the basement, where one of the most famous recording studios ever built was, called Associated Recording Studios.
Wow.
If you ever heard that song, They're Coming to Take Me Away, ha ha, he he, ho. I was there while they recorded that.
Oh, that's great.
In that basement. It was the engineer. The engineer said, look, he had an assistant engineer. I was there with my father, pressed the record button. He went out and recorded that thing to the track. And we were laughing. My father was crying. My father's tears were coming down his face. A couple of weeks later, the song was #1. But anyway, so you're getting the picture, right? Down at the bottom in the basement were 5 musicians, with also in the room were glockenspiels and celestes and timpanis and all kinds of orchestral instruments. But the 5 guys, the guitarist, the bass, a sax player, drummer, and a pianist. They were there at 9 a.m. and they stayed till 9 p.m., 5 days a week. If you've ever watched the movie The Wrecking Crew, do you know that movie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was the East Coast kind of version. They did everything. So we go downstairs with my father's song. This is just, I'm giving you the chronological, right? Yeah. 12 years old, we go upstairs. I already learned how to read quite a bit. And the publisher sends us downstairs to make a demo of the song. When the demo's finished, they mix it, master it right there, direct to disc. They send it back to the publisher. He sends it to Frank Sinatra. Right? That's how it worked. So we go down, and who's on guitar but the famous Tony Mottola?
Oh, wow.
And the other guys, Al Caiola, and they had the bass player from the Ed Sullivan Show, and I'd be lying if I knew. I thought it was Gene Krupa, but it was somebody. It wasn't Buddy Rich, but somebody we knew. Maybe Jack DeJohnette. And they had the chart, of course, written out. They just gave it out. Everybody. 1, 2 takes. There was one. It's a studio singer who sight read. So he just read the chart, the lead sheet. I love you so much. I just read it. 1, 2 takes. They're done. And my father says to Tony Mottola, he says, "My kid plays. Can he play your guitar?" And Tony says, "Yeah, sure." So I pick up Tony's guitar and I sight read the chart. Right? And Tony, I'm 12. So Tony's all over me then. He says to my father, he says, "You need to get your son in the music union now." He says, because whatever compliments he shed, right? But all this time, my brain is going, what? Now, I wanted to be a rock star like every other 12-year-old. I want to be the next Beatles or the next Jimi Hendrix. But I thought, what an amazing thing to go to work with my guitar at 9 o'clock and be there for 12 hours just reading music and then getting a check. I would never have to worry about my future. I would never have to worry about money. I would never have to worry about, scraping. And that day changed my life. And indeed, the following week, my father took me to Local 802, which is the biggest union except for Local 47 in LA. 802 is the music union of New York. 40,000 members. And they introduced me to the mafia guy, Vince Rosito. Vince Rosito is the president of the New York Union. In those days, man, it's all mafia. And my father had me play for Vince. And when it was over, he calls me sweetheart, the guy. Vince, he said, this kid's going to go somewhere. 7 days later, I was working with 50-year-olds in hotels in New York City. So by the time I was 13, 14, I had $10,000 in my wallet. I was playing every weekend. But more importantly than the money and the playing was it based on reading. Because I didn't know how to really solo yet, especially playing standards, So I was getting education for free. I got to learn all these standards by watching the pianists. I get to hear the sax players playing the solos. And I would think, I wonder how I could play that on guitar. It was like going to Berkeley for 20 years, All based on reading. Everything was based, my whole life has been based on reading music. So when I've done ads on Facebook or something about my course, Turn It Up, I get the usual. Hey man, I read tablature, I don't need to read. Jimi Hendrix didn't read. George Benson doesn't read. And you know what? It's interesting to me that we can name the 10 musicians who are famous who don't know how to read. But the rest of us, at least in my eyes, need to make a living. Yeah. And you also get, well, I never dreamed of being a studio musician. I understand that. People have different, they get their own path. But in my life, reading has been everything. Everything. Before I could play. I mean, when I joined Jean-Luc Ponty, Jean-Luc Ponty, I was with him.
Yeah.
For your audience.
When we met, that's who you were playing with.
Oh, my goodness. But Jean-Luc, when I did the audition, the first piece he gave me, was called Imaginary Voyage. It's this like, right? That's 21/8. And I songwrite it, right? And he was looking at me because he had auditioned some other people, and a week later I joined the band. It was based on the reading. But when I got on the gig, and I love Ponty, Jean-Luc Ponty, as much as I love any family member. I mean, he didn't have to do any of what he did with it for me. He sat me down. He said, Jamie, 1 minute you sound like George Benson. The next minute you sound like Wes Montgomery. Then you sound like John McLaughlin. He says, we're going to work together to find out who Jamie is. And that's when we started to experiment with different amplifiers, with effects, with the touch. He would tell me on the violin that he doesn't use vibrato, which he doesn't, and that I don't have to use vibrato. And we were, everything about my life was based upon what he was the next level from Bill Levitt. But again, I got the Ponty gig not based on how I could play, I don't think. It was based on the fact that I could read. So therefore, I thought when I made the course, for those people who might benefit from this, there are tricks, techniques to reading. The vast majority of teachers say the best way to become a good reader is to what?
Is to read. I don't know.
It's to practice.
Yeah.
And I start the book. My first page of my book, of my course, Turn It Up, says, spell dog. D-O-G, right?
Yeah.
Do you need to practice that? No. That's how dog is spelled. And I think I don't remember my course completely, but another word, maybe cat. Spell cat. And I said, that's the way it is with reading music. You don't need to practice. You don't need to read every day. These sight reading books that they're all over the place. They give you exercise 1, la, 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 and then they do a retrograde, the backwards of it, so you can read it. Then they put it upside down. They do a transposition, and the guy may charge $29 for a book. That's not how it's done.
Yeah.
well, I don't want to give away the course, but there are techniques that you learn as a pro reader, which you know well. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's the thing about reading.
It's really important. And I think if any of my guitar player friends want to work on your reading, get Jamie's course. And I always found it fascinating because I've told all my students I prefer if they would read. Because I said, if you go out and you work in a band and you're the only guitar player, every other musician in that band's going to read music. Sax player, piano player. I mean, generally,
yeah.
Guitar players are notoriously bad, poor readers, you know.
That's true.
And there's the old joke, how do you get a guitar player to turn down? Put a chart in front of him, right? So it's important. Music's a language. And communicating with other musicians, the written note is the way to communicate. It's Tony, if you don't read it, you're missing part of the language of music.
There's another element to all of this, and this is where I have gotten, I wouldn't call it hate mail. I don't know what I would call it. There are a lot of musicians who like art, that if music is not an art, then you're a whore. I mean, as clearly as I can say it. And my interest has always been that because of my father, I think, not because of something he said, but he was in the music business. We talked about it. He liked to craft a lyric. He wanted to be the best at what he did. But in the end, it was about the contract, about whether he could buy his wife the coat she wanted. And I've never been a millionaire, but I've made a lot of money at music, you know, as you have. And I'm not embarrassed, but I've done interviews where people are going, "Don't you care about the music?" I do, but I also care. My dog, and maybe people don't agree, but she gets Farmer's Dog, which is $300 a month for food, which is more than most human beings are eating. You know, it's what I choose to do with the money, but the money I make is from music. And why? Because I can read, because I've been taught by my amazing mentors that to be a virtuoso, which I'm not, is not always helpful. Sometimes it's best to diversify. So my whole career has been like that. There was a time where I proofread Disney charts at $25 a page to make a living. And then I would give it back to the conductor and he'd say, "Oh, thank you for fixing the French horn part." And now these days I make a big portion of my living mastering music, you know. I love that part because it's the end. It's what the people will hear. I know how to mix, but then everything I mix sounds like Jamie. I mean, but when you master something, you're mastering someone else's dream. You know, I learned from Bernie Grundman, one of the greatest masters in the world. Yeah. And the thing I took away was when you're mastering, you're just putting the right level, maybe a couple of fixes, and and shaping stuff. So especially these days, the stuff sounds good on a phone, sounds good on a YouTube, but it's not my dream. They give me the mix. So if I may not agree with putting the guitars, this panning to complete panning. What do they call that? Panning all the way.
Yeah.
And reverb up the middle and all. That's not my problem. My problem is making sure that it's it's going to be loud enough and it's going to be clear and it's going to sound good. And most important, There's the emotional part of it. I've got a couple of programs here, Tony, that I use for my clients. They're AI kind of version, like Ozone.
Sure.
They do a nice job. So you put it in there and you say, the song is pop, and you tell the AI, give me a starting point for mastering.
Yeah.
And it comes back, it's got a compressor and a dynamic thing and an equalizer and a and all that stuff is great. And that's what when a client needs something, I give it to him in 5 minutes. I press Ozone, it's done, and it's it. But I would never master it like that, because mastering is a personal thing, right? What are you trying to say with it? Sort of like what we did earlier in your interview today. What are you trying to say? What is the audience supposed to feel? And so that art is that. But back to the thing, you probably know the guitarist Carlos Rios.
Yeah, I love Carlos. Yeah,
wonderful.
No, I was going to say that Gino Vanelli Brother to Brother album was really an important record for me as a kid. Yeah,
well, me too. It's great. Well, Carlos, when I met him, he was opening for Ponty. Not him, but the band he was with. It's like a funk band in somewhere. And you're aware that eventually he became the guy who wrote down Lionel Richie's songs. And when I talked to Carlos back then, I said, look, we were pretty friendly. I said, can you give me an idea of what Lionel is paying you to transcribe all his songs? And he told me $5,000 a week. To me, what I was making with Ponty was good jazz money, $2,800 a week, whatever it was. But it wasn't 5,000, and I wasn't with Lionel Richie. I mean, I think I felt a little bit envious too. But the point was, what is it that was the key here? Carlos was giving Lionel Richie the freedom to be himself. And Carlos knew how to read. Simple as that can be. So I took it from Carlos. I started to do that. I found in Los Angeles all kinds of bands that wanted charts. Sure, $50 a page, So it always came down to reading is going to give me a foundation, financial foundation. It'll open doors that it couldn't for others. Now, again, someone listening to this podcast will say, well, my favorite guitar player doesn't even know what chord he's playing. That's good. I think it's all good. When I was with Jon Anderson, from Yes, I'm saying that for the people I know who it is. He came up to me during a rehearsal, a sound check rather. We didn't rehearse. A sound check, and he asked me what chord he was playing. He doesn't know. I mean, that was part of it. I don't know if you're going to ask anything about Jon Anderson, but it's part of the fun of being with him. Okay, I've talked way too much. Sorry.
No, so the reading thing is super important, and it's just part of being a well-rounded musician, which you are fabulous. And I want to make sure that people know that, Jamie, you play wonderful guitar, and you're an accomplished keyboard player too. You do a lot of work for people with your writing and recording. You're able to do complete productions yourself.
Yeah,
and
I use a drum. I have E-drums in the other room.
Right.
As a mixing. The other thing is, I have a different life than a lot of people. My life has always been, for 40 more years, has been kind of around television. And television requires everything to be done fast, pretty much. I mean, I'm waiting right now. I do shows for Discovery Channel, Warner Brothers, and they just say, we need 10 new unique cues or songs, if you want to call them. They need them composed, recorded, mixed, mastered, send us stems. We need it in 10 days. So for 10 days, but I don't need to be inspired. You know, it's not that I'm not inspired, but I don't need to, you know, I don't have the Winter Park thing happening. I mean, I have no time for snow for Florida.
I understand that.
Florida. Sorry, I'm just taking from another conversation. You don't want me to mention the other weather, right?
Yeah.
Those of you who are listening, watching this, thank you so much, by the way. We didn't forget you're there.
Not at all.
This is the problem. Tony and I are like, can I tell him how I met you?
I would love that. Well, I told them that we met in prison, but I think maybe I have not remembered properly here.
It's not exactly properly, but I think I would have even respected you in prison. So.
Thank you.
So, to put this, I don't know who. Tell me about the demographics of the people who watch your podcast.
You tell the story, and if I need to make adjustments to it later in post production.
All right. During the time I was with Jean-Luc Ponty, especially Ponty, one of the songs hit the pop charts. It was sold 400,000 albums. This is a jazz band, so we all kind of wanted, except for Ponty, we all wanted to be rock stars. And the record label, Atlantic Records, wanted us to be rock stars. So they gave us limos. Then suddenly Bonnie Raitt was opening for us, Renaissance, Little River Band, Ambrosia. Then we got put on a tour with Supertramp. And Supertramp, we were playing 100,000 seaters every night, coming in limos with people pounding on. So just to set the stage for this, right? Something happens with that, some of the craziness of the road, but you start to be kind of confident. Like if someone asked me to pay a cover charge at a club, I was like, you must be kidding. Do you know who we are? That it got to that. We used to call ourselves, I literally, the band, not Ponty again, I don't want to bring him in. We used to call ourselves the Beatles of jazz. Because all the other jazz bands, it didn't matter who it was, Chick Corea, Jeff Lorber, this one and that one, they're all either in a van or struggling, three people in a hotel room, and we're like in the Marriott with jacuzzis in our rooms. Ponty knew how to treat us really well. He still does, by the way, even though he's retired. He's always treated us well. What other band got a Christmas bonus? I mean, except for maybe Bruce Springsteen. We were treated so well. So after a gig, we often, first of all the hotels we played at in those days had live bands. And I would go down and usually get frustrated because every band I thought played better than I did, right? Every guitar player. Plus they were playing pop music. And I was like, well, I'm playing jazz or fusion or whatever they call this music. And he's playing Madonna. And it sounds great. And the guitar sound is better than my sound. I've got to be this freak out, right? But when we walked into clubs after, oh, that's a cool band. They're good. They're kind of good. So we walk into this club and there's music. And some girl there, well, everybody knew we were the band that just played. And it's real obvious they know. And plus we all walk in together, 5 long hairs, they know. And so this very pretty girl comes over and we talk, and then I ask her if I can buy her a drink, and there's yes. And before you knew it, we were pretty friendly, little hugging, maybe even a kiss. And I'm pretty feisty there. I'm thinking, I've already got my whole night planned. I got my night planned. She's hot. This worked out great. She knows I'm the guitarist with Ponty. Perfect. Ego's good. Testosterone's good. Everything's good. Perfect. And then she looks at me and she said, Jamie, I want to take you somewhere. I'm like, wow, this is like a pornographic film, man. This is like, I want to take you somewhere. I'm ready to go in the bathroom, anywhere she wants to go, right? She said, I need you to meet the greatest guitarist in the world.
She couldn't have said that.
She did. She did say that. And I don't want to be graphic, but my excitement stopped. So she's, and then I thought, this better be good. This better be good. So we get in her car. I think it was a Corvette. Fancy car, nice car. I'm still hot for her, you know. We get to this place. She drives a couple of blocks, and the doors open. And the first thing I heard was you bending like either a B or a C note on the second string. I swear, and people who are watching this, Tony and I are dear friends. We're way past trying to impress each other. It was maybe the most soulful thing I had ever heard. You bend this string. The door opened. If this were a movie, the door opened here, and then some shredding that just like it was. I was like, who is that? Who is it? And then you were singing some stuff, and it wasn't just meeting you. The note was like, "Hello, I'm Tony," and then she said, "Why don't you go play with him?" And then you were so cordial. You handed me the cable, and I think we talked about this at the beginning of the interview. We're instant brothers. I was enamored with you. I thought, I just met somebody that is going to change my life. Is going to, and I looked at you, and I'll never forget. We looked at each other, and we played something. I think you followed me. I bend something like wee, and you did it with me. And I remember to this day. I said, I'm in the freaking Allman Brothers now. That because I love, I love the Allman Brothers. You know, I don't get as a guitarist on tour. Unless I went in these hotel bands, which I rarely did, because I was doing other stuff, practicing, going out with the girls I met, whatever. I had never had this relationship like this, except for a couple other guitar players in LA. You were magic, and the other thing was the other thing, Tony, was your sound, your and still to this day, even on your album, with the clean sound too. It's the way your skin meets the string. A lot of people tell me, well, have you ever tried a Wagner or this? I said, look, I sound the same on a pig nose, $12 amplifiers, so I do it on a $500 one. But you have a very special touch. So when you're shredding, I've studied you. So when you're shredding, your touch is subtle. It's still there. It's not like you suddenly get the beat, this bright thing. Somebody banged on the door. Sorry about that. She's a good watchdog.
Oh, that's awfully kind of you. Well,
it's true. And I remember standing next to you. I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but this is amazing. You were amazing. I mean, amazing. And you know anything about aura? Aura?
Yes.
So I used to be all into this. Why people? You would say, Zelly, cool out. You sit on a bus, and you can be very uncomfortable next to somebody, and then somebody else stays. You just ready to hug them. Yeah. You were the person I wanted to hug, and after you were very respectful of what I did, and we talked for a while, and then I bailed on you because I wanted to take the girl home. My manhood became more important. So I thanked you. I don't remember if I hugged you, but I remember that we traded numbers. Do you remember anything that I'm not remembering?
Well, number one, when you walked in, I was like, holy crap, that's Jamie Glaser. I did. I was like, oh my gosh. Because the club was called the Green Tree Saloon. So you're the last person that I ever expected to walk into the Green Tree Saloon at that night.
She dragged me to see the greatest guitarist in the world.
Well, she may have played that up a little bit, but anyway, I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And then when I met you, I felt at ease with you, and just like you said, like we were brothers immediately.
Yeah, there was communication. It was meant to be. When you talked earlier, I don't think we did it on air, but or maybe we did yes, we did about how you felt about Kay. I mean, there are these connections that maybe are pre-made or predestined, something like that. But anyway, on that, the night didn't end exactly the way I had pictured it. So, do you know? You're not going to say it, but do you know the girl that I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay, great. So
she was a pretty blonde girl.
Oh yeah, she was. Okay, I told her, I remember, I said, he's an amazing guitar player. And I remember I told her, I said, I think I'm going to be friends with him. And she seemed really happy that she had introduced us,
Yes, she did.
And she did. And then she pulls up to the hotel, which is a very nice hotel. And I had kind of a circular driveway, the front door. She pulled up to just where the circle would start, right? And I'm thinking, okay, let's get you parked and go upstairs and enjoy the evening. So I'm waiting that she pulls out, she takes off the car, and I'm leaning over to give her a hug or to give something, and she turns to me with her face like this, and she says, "Get out." And I it's 40 years later, right? 30 years later, I like, what? I mean, this is a woman who was sitting on my lap, who hugged me, kissed me, and took me to see Tony. Get out. I said, what did I say? Because I wasn't even talking on the way home. I don't think. I don't remember, but I remember thinking I didn't talk.
Well, maybe she'll be watching this broadcast.
Make it up to me someday. I'm single now.
You are single now. So.
Suddenly I'm single. Get out. And I was flippant, and I opened the door, and I walked out, and she sped out like she was going to a fire. Like I don't know. But that was my Tony Janflone day, man. I'll never forget it. It was like,
all I can say is it didn't turn out the way you would have liked it to, but I'm thankful that the event happened.
I am too. I am too, and I was able to go on living after the.
And I apologize that she behaved that way. So
I'm sure all of us have suffered rejection in one or other way, but I wasn't used to it, and I was baffled. Then I thought, and then of course the Jamie with no confidence started to come out. I was and it had to do with you. So I was like, okay.
No, well,
because I jammed the Tony.
You were a rock star, man. You walked in and you had that spiky, kind of blonde and spiky hair. And I was like, wow, man, he's a great player and he looks like a rock star too,
The band used to call it the Rooster's Glove. That's what they called my moused up hair. But so I go in my beautiful hotel room, I'm going, she doesn't like me because that guitar player, that Tony guy, he plays better than I do. And I was going through, I swear to God, man, you put me through more head trips in one night Because what girl tells you to get out after you spend 3 hours courting her? And then
I don't know.
Then I said, oh, yeah, so she was cool until I stood on stage with that guy. And then
I will tell you that her friend, you met her too.
I bet I did.
And her name's Carolyn, and you know her. And she
Carolyn,
may watch the show. Yes.
Carolyn, I think Carolyn's great, and she's beautiful.
She's a wonderful person, and she loves music. Like, she just loves music.
How come I didn't end up?
I don't know. You went for the L.
Well, because it's funny because I am friends with Carolyn, and I think she's smart and bright and beautiful. And when I remember when I first friended her, and it's like, I don't know if she connected me to you, but I still think she's cool. I've been off social media for a couple of months, but her posts are always fun and interesting. Yeah, I made a mistake that night, I guess. Like they say,
there's always time to rectify this.
It's okay. It's a long way to Pennsylvania.
That's a much better story than us meeting in prison, I will tell you.
Oh, yeah. The prison thing, we'd have to really create some other stuff with here.
You're too much.
You people who are watching and listening to this, I hope you're enjoying this.
I want to name some of the great people you've played with, because not everybody knows. Jean-Luc Ponty, Chick Corea, Lenny White. By the way, Scott Jackson, I mentioned him earlier, and he'll be watching this show.
Hey,
he saw you. He saw you for the first time with Lenny White.
I love Lenny. I love
the Manhattan Transfer.
Yeah.
Bryan Adams, Eric Burdon, Gloria Trevi, Shaka Khan. I love her. Jon Anderson. Jon Anderson. And many more, because Jamie's done sessions galore and played just so many shows in his lifetime. But those are some major names that he has played with.
Major names. And they're all very nice people. We had a problem. So for those of you who are listening to this cryptic part of this show, Jean-Luc Ponty, was well known, and Jon Anderson, the singer of Yes, had talked for years about maybe doing something together. And I guess they decided to do it. And their mission was to take both of their catalog, and they used the word reimagine the songs. And what does that mean? Well, obviously, Owner of a Lonely Heart doesn't have a violin solo. Jean-Luc's music didn't have lyrics. So he was rewriting these songs, and sometimes the form of the song was changed. We didn't do much by changing harmonies. We kept the music intact pretty much, but all the embellishments and all the things, sounds were changed, and so forth. So, like many records that are made, so anyway, if you don't mind, so
no, go.
I had been with Jean-Luc off and on since 1977. And we went through a lot of different groups. There was a group with Daryl Sturmer, the guitar player, who many people know with Genesis and Phil Collins, and so forth, all these different groups. And finally, around the end of the 80s, Jean-Luc fell in love with one certain group. He never fired he did kind of fire Steve Smith, the drummer of Journey, and me, because he thought we were making the band too rock and roll, until ticket sales fell down. Anyway, that's another interview. So when we were doing this all, we became not a band anymore. We became a family. in fact, in this lifetime, I'm not sure I'll ever experience. In fact, everybody in the band says what I'm saying. Everybody. Rayford Griffin, Wally Minko, Baron Brown sadly passed away. So Keith Jones plays bass with us. Jean-Luc and myself. It's almost impossible to describe. A lot of bands get close when they're touring and they did an album together. Not like this. This was a band that we hadn't seen each other for a year, and we decided we're all going to stay up all night long because we don't want to be away from each other. I mean, it's indescribable. And yes, it has to do with the fact that we toured for years together, recorded together, but there's just a magic. Just like I'm again, it's probably unfair to compare to the Beatles, but the Beatles have a thing. There are 100,000 rock groups, but they have a thing. This particular thing of Ponty. So there was, obviously I've been affiliated with him for a while, even though he's had George Benson, he had Holsworth, he had this one and that one. And I start getting congratulation messages on Facebook. That's so cool, man. You're playing with Jon Anderson. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You know? And then the messages wouldn't stop. Like, you know, John, yes, was a big part of my life. And you play as well as Steve Howe. That's so great. And I mean, just on and on. And I finally called Jean-Luc in Paris. I was like, I'm getting messages that I'm playing with you and a new group with Jon Anderson. I knew nothing about this. And it wasn't me. It was Jamie from South Park. What the heck is his name? I gotta. What's his last name? Why can't I remember this? Let me look this up.
Jamie from South
Jamie, composer for South Park. I don't know why I can't think of his name, but it's Jamie Dunlap. Okay, so is Jamie Dunlap? So they're bringing the band out to record a live CD after they've been in rehearsal in Colorado in Boulder for a month, right? So I don't ever heard of Jamie Dunlap, right? So he's a composer for South Park. He's been writing songs with Jon Anderson. He's a great rock player, you know. And the messages don't stop, man. Oh. And now I am a little sad. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Why is it that Wally Minko, Rayford Griffin, the guys in the band that I played with for 20 years are doing this with Jon Anderson, and I'm sitting here feeding the guinea pig? You know, and I'm not really trying to be funny. That's what I was doing, feeding my guinea pig. Yeah. And then their record comes out, and they did these concerts, which became the live album, the first album. And there's still people bugging me about joining the band. You know. I said, look, I don't know anything about this. And the word was that they used Jamie Dunlap, not only because he was friendly with Jon and great, but because they didn't want Jon Anderson to feel like the front man of the Jean-Luc Ponty band. So just getting rid of me made it more, cohesive, as opposed to we hired a lead singer. Jon is a little bit more famous than that, you know. So that's it. One night I got a phone call from the manager, who I knew he was the manager for Ponty. He says, listen, how would you like to join the Anderson Ponty band? This whole thing is like from another outer space. I said, but I just went through a month of messaging on Facebook. You guys have Jamie Dunlap. He says, yeah, but Jamie can't do the gig. Jamie's got it right for South Park, and he's not really a good fusion player. Jean-Luc wants you back. So I said, okay. So now I'm excited. Now I'm playing with the Anderson Ponty Band, except that they can't have Jamie Dunlap's guitars on the album, even though he's in all the videos. So Jamie, we have to do all the guitar parts over. I said, but he's in the video. So all the videos. So Jon Anderson says, don't worry, we'll use a holograph. You can be a holograph. You know what
you're like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm sitting here in Utah. I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the phone with John. When I was in high school, I was trying to sing roundabout. You know, after I passed puberty, I couldn't hit those notes. I mean, before puberty, I could sing the high notes that John sang. And now I'm on the phone with the guy. You know, that's how life is freaking weird, man. We used to have a keyboard player. That's another story. He knew every Rick Wakeman lick, everything. He had Hammond with 3 Leslies. He's the first guy I'd ever met that smoked marijuana. Anyway, he was off his rocker. And so John is like, yeah, we got to do the guitar parts over because you're replacing Jamie. We'll do a holograph of you. And you have to do the background vocals. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm singing backgrounds with Jon Anderson. And I'm going to be a holograph. It just got to be like more and more insanity. And then we started recording. Of course, I'm recording from my house. Jon Anderson is not, his background is nothing like mine, nor anybody in the Ponty Band. He doesn't know music theory. He doesn't read music. He everything he does is instinctual. And it's one of the greatest lessons I've ever had because I had to get out of my comfort zone, and so did Ponty, and so did all of us, because we were a family. The first thing that we were told by the music attorney was, you guys need to make John feel welcome, because he's always been the boss of Yes. He's a founder. And here he knows he was walking into a group of Jean-Luc, who went to the Paris Conservatory. The rest of us can, Wally Minko can sight read 2 piano books at the same time. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. That was his audition was a mistake. He instead of taking the 1 keyboard part, he took the 2 books and he played both parts. And Jean-Luc and I and the rest of the band we didn't know if the guy was from Mars, because he's just reading the synth part, the piano part, sight reading everything. He was in the band in 4 minutes, So this is the band, right? Even the Rayfords reads, we all read. And then we have Jon Anderson, who's asking us what chord he's playing, telling us that Yes, his group Yes, what they would do is practice for 6 months or 7 months. Each person would bring a part of the song and they would see if it worked with the next section. And before it was over, it was 13 minutes long or whatever. So, Steve Howe would have an idea and then John would say, no, change that note. They did not improvise. Every single note of every album, of every tour was rehearsed. We refused to try to play the same solo night after night. We were embarrassed if we played a lick from the night before. Yeah. So now you have Jon Anderson, who's from truly another kind of musical background, and us. And John's famous line, which we were making fun of it sometimes, he said, just try it. Just try it. And we were trying things that we would look at each other, or after John left, we were like, why are we putting a gong in the middle of that bar? Or John would make up a lyric. He'd never start on beat 1. He'd start on like beat 1, like 1 and on the and of 2. He just started. start a phrase out of nowhere where we would think it's completely wrong, like the needle went to the wrong groove. We had to learn. We are not in what's that place, the Wizard of Oz?
Not in Kansas anymore.
We're not in Kansas anymore, that's for sure. And so now it's 2 months. I'm on Skype with him every day. Jamie, you got to try this part. Then I play the part. We send it to Ponty in Paris. Ponty would either approve it or tell me to try some other way. Then I record it, put it back on my DAW. Then John would say, why don't you try it instead of dee go dee. And by the time it's like 8 hours a day, and I'm thinking, shit. I'm thinking, this is nuts. This is the nuttiest record. Look, the way I'm used to doing a record, the guy gives me a chart, I play it, they give me a check, I go get Indian food. This was unbelievable. And when Jean-Luc and John didn't agree on what should be played, I was like the checker. They just moved me around. That was nice. Can you try to play with a flanger? Okay. I mean, I was just not used to it. You know what comping is? When you record, for those of you who listen to the term.
You're gonna have several tracks of.
Producers ask you solo, and then they pick the best one. And I don't do comps. I mean, I've had to a couple times. I just either punch in or that. It's just not the way I work, especially when. But this was like a life of comping. Like 2 bars were cool. Then it was like that, and then it got to be like 8 weeks, and I got no money, nothing, not a freaking penny. I'm talking to Jon Anderson, who made $40 million on Owner of a Lonely Heart. And I told him, I said, John, I don't have any money. I've been working with you guys for 6 weeks out of my studio, giving up other work. And then John said something like, I should just be enjoying the journey. I said, well, something of that nature. This is not the Jon Anderson that the people know, right? Yeah. I said, I'll understand the journey a lot more when you send me a check. So we already had this little thing going on. And then he said something that just knocked me off. He says, I'm only getting 4% of Owner of a Lonely Heart. So I went online to see that he's made like $2 million. I'm like, I'm just asking you for my $5,000 or whatever I was asking for, right? So that was the first one. So finally we got paid. And I must say, I learned a lot from John, and he's a beautiful person. And their stuff, his public persona, there is part of that. That's him. There's no question. He's very smart, very spiritual, very fair.
Good.
Very talented. But we had never met. We finished the album. They mastered it in London, and we're going to go on tour. They gave us 3 days to rehearse. I'd never met John. They knew John because they had played the original record. So I get on stage, and he starts to bark orders at me. I mean, really, like the stories I had heard about him being Napoleon and all this stuff, I never believed. He got, and I said, John, look, man, I said, I've been around. I said, you need to talk to me with respect. And I'll never forget it. He says to me, I know your show is PG, but he turned to me and he said, don't blow smoke up my ass. In other words, he knew that I was being respectful because he was Jon Anderson, but I was also putting the stuff down. And as soon as he said that, I put my guitar down. The attorney, the record company was there, Jean-Luc, the band, and I walked off and I went in the parking lot, called the airline to quit. And because I'd already been through that thing with the money thing. And then the attorney runs out. He said, listen, you got to, he reframed the whole thing, reframed everything. He said, Jamie, you have to be more sensitive. He said, John is in a peculiar position here. He said, he's fronting this band that you guys have played 20 years together. You all know music a different way than he does. where this is not really his band, and he's trying so hard to fit in. It was almost like no sensitivity to me, right? I'm ready to get on Delta Airlines.
Yeah.
And I told him, send my equipment home. I don't care if you don't have a guitar player for your first show. I've never been a diva, and I've never had an experience. It was that pointed stuff, plus the fact I didn't know him. I did, it's like a first meeting. You got to set your boundaries, And I played with people with egos and a-holes everywhere, but they show respect, Mm-hmm. They hired you for what you do. So I told the attorney, I said, I don't know that this is going to work out. I said, blah, blah, blah happened and this happened. Now he's treating me like, I said, if this is the way he treated Steve Howe and his buddies, then I don't want any part of this. I said, it's not a rock band. I'm not a member. I remember I said, I'm not a member. I'm a sideman. Yeah. Whatever money that he and Ponty are going to make off the album sales, that's not me. I get paid for a session. I'm done. So he said, give me a minute. He goes back in, and then they asked me to come in. I walk in, and John asked me to go in the room. We went in, and I don't know what they told him. He was the nicest human being that ever existed on the earth. He said, you're my brother, and we're going to make this happen. This music is magical. The stuff you did on the album was incredible. Your vocals, you sound like George Harrison. I mean, that's what he told me. He said he never met anybody that sounded more like George Harrison. I was like, oh, okay. and from that point on, for the next 2 years, we were like best friends.
Awesome.
Yeah, but people should not see that other side of him.
Well, we got to see you during that period. In fact, it was Kay and I, and Carolyn was at the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We saw you at the Carnegie Music Hall in Pittsburgh.
Was it good?
You were great. You were crushing.
Not me. That was it good.
It was all good.
Thank you.
But you were crushing.
I played. Trevor Rabin came to a couple of the shows, and I'm trying to play on Her Lonely Heart in front of him.
That's something. Trevor's great.
He's great, but
you're Jamie Glaser, I should say.
That's the only liberty I was able to take. It's like, Trevor, I'm sorry, man, I'm not you, brother.
No, you are. You.
It's very appreciated, and indeed, we were very disappointed at the end. That song Fireflies? It's yeah. It's great song. Guy from Midwest made it. You know what I'm talking about?
I do know. Yeah.
Very. We had that guy's road manager.
Huh.
She's a girl, and she was great until she wasn't great. So everything's going great. We get to San Francisco. Not a lot of times in major cities, Jean-Luc and Jon Anderson took fancier hotels than the band. If we were in a nice hotel, they were in the penthouse at the Marriott. They spent the money in New York, in LA, in Sao Paulo. I mean, it wasn't like they were first class, but they did. And so we get to San Francisco, and we pull up, and the hotel is called the No Name Hotel. I mean,
that was the name.
Yeah, No Name. And outside, I swear to God, Tony. So the road is the road. You get what you get. But we're used to 20 years of great hotels, all this shit and stuff. And then we pull in, and there's the front door, the entrance. It would be called an entrance in English. And next to the entrance is a girl smoking crack with the pipe in her mouth right there. And as I woke up, she asked me if I want a date. I'm like, okay, I don't know what hotel this is, but the story is better. We got in there, and there's a stairway. Oh, we had to go urinate really badly. And there's a stairway. It says the restrooms. So we walk up the stairway, but they close the wall. You hit the wall when you go up like 5 steps, and it's a wall. There's no bathroom. There's just the wall. So they have the sign like as if there's a room, but there's not a room. I said, well, we run down the stairs. We have to go to the bathroom. I said, well, you're going to have to go to the hotel across the street. I swear to God.
After the remodeling job,
you have to go to it was not a Travelodge, it's the other one, like it. Anyway, Best Western. You have to go to the hotel across the street. I said, to go to the bathroom? You don't have a bathroom? No, our bathroom's not working. So we are flipping out. We haven't eaten. Nobody's gone to the bathroom. Now we're walking across the street to go to the bathroom with a prostitute in the front doing drugs in the open. And we had to put our foot down, right? Meanwhile, Jon Anderson and Ponty are in like the fanciest hotel in Berkeley, California. They're just like at the spa, getting their nails done. And we are in a whorehouse. Yeah, the road isn't all it's chalked up to be. So finally we tell her, you have to do something like now. We're going to go eat. We're going to walk down the street, find a bathroom, go to a restaurant, and when we come back, we want a new hotel. Or we're not playing. You can call Ponty and tell him that, which would never be a phone call to him, right? Well, finally, they did call Ponty, and he who would never do any of this, he called somebody. They got us a beautiful hotel in Berkeley, and everything was fine. But anyway, so the tour came to an end, and stuff started to be missing, including a little over $11,000 in merch. She stole it. She stole it. And
no kidding.
Nobody could find her. And then my understanding is that Jean-Luc and Jon had a legal problem with Frontiers, the album record company. And between all of that, they decided to cut it. Otherwise, we were planning to do another album and another tour. And I was excited about it. Jean-Luc and Jon had already begun writing together, which was, so this is a different challenge because they weren't going to reimagine the old songs. They're going to write new ones. And it never happened. It was just, I think they're still missing the money. Except for that, I took one of the shirts. I will admit I stole one.
Well, at this point, I think they owed you.
Yeah, I think they may have owed you. Yeah. This is what I was telling you earlier. I mean, I've done some interviews where I've opened up about things that really happen because I don't want to sugarcoat it. And I got hate mail when I said anything negative about Jon the last time. You could cut it out of the interview if you think it's misplaced. That's, I mean, the most
real.
important. It's real,
stuff,
but you know, I once posted a video of us, and I got a message from Jon Anderson's manager that I needed to pull it off Facebook. Jon didn't want it. I mean, they're very powerful people, and you also have to respect. He was my boss, really.
Yeah.
You know, a band is a band to the people. But the key to what I was saying, first of all, in respect to him, he turned it around, right? I mean, I would have been home.
Right.
He was. It wasn't like BS, you know. The attorney explaining to me. I remember when he explained all that stuff to me that I told you about, and I thought in my head, I don't give a hoot what he thinks. You know, if he's uncomfortable in the Ponty band, maybe he should have joined a fusion band 30 years ago. This is where my head was at, right? But in the end, it worked out to be a great friendship and a great inspiration, because I had never been with a band where the band leader didn't know music theory.
It's a crazy thing. Yet, if you listen to Yes, their music was complex.
Oh, very complex.
So people have their ways of knowing things. I've had people ask me about, well, they'd say Wes Montgomery didn't read music, and I say, yeah, but he knew music. He may have, even Alan Holdsworth, who we know was a monster. He had his own system that was kind of his own approach and looked the way he looked at music, right?
Amazing approach.
Yeah. So it's not what I think what you're saying isn't bad, and it's not slamming Jon Anderson. I mean, Jon Anderson, those guys created just insane music, it was wonderful. But it's that communication thing again. The not reading and and so you're in a group with a bunch of guys that can really communicate because they know music really well.
Well, we communicated in the same way,
Yes.
Yes. It would take. It's funny because Jean-Luc was classically trained, so there were a few times over the many years I had been with him where he'd ask me how to name a chord. Because in classical literature, for example, if it's the first inversion, you put a 6, right? It's like 1 6, that tells you to play from the third is on the bottom of the chord, and that's the way he knew that system backwards, But when it came to G7 flat 9 flat 13, he said, "Well, how do you call that? Or what would you call that?" He would say,
Yeah.
The thing was that there was a bit of. The attorney was right. The thing that happened with me was that I felt, as I told the story, I felt overworked with no pay at first. Yeah. And, the dynamics in business are always weird. We had a manager with Jean-Luc for a while, the same manager that's David Foster's manager. Many people actually, Weather Report, and he passed away recently, so I don't want to say anything nasty, but there was a point where we were going to do a tour, and he offered me less money than I had made before, and I said no. He said, "Well, do you want to go out with Ponty or not? I'll get another guitar player." So the thing that he was the manager for like 4 years, right? And I knew Ponty for 20 years. So I called Jean-Luc. I'm not now I'm friends with him. Now he's like a brother or father or whatever he is. But I was still his guitar player, submissive. I called him. I said, "Jean-Luc, this manager offered me less money or he'd replace me." And Jean-Luc went ballistic. It went ballistic because what was going to happen was the manager was going to tell Jean-Luc that he's going to pocket the money. Yeah. There's these business things that go on. And I don't think the story I told about John is necessarily, we were all under a lot of pressure.
Sure.
But I felt mostly pressured. And also I was in fact not taking other work while I was being befuddled by two very staunch artists that were trying to create something new, but one lives in a backyard, not in the backyard. One lives in California and the other's in Paris. And I'm here in Utah, just like, okay, you want me to go up? Oh, fine, I'll have it done in an hour. It was just like music, like a menu, like press this and Jamie will play that. It's like I became a robot,
Yeah. Well, understandably, you'd be upset about not getting paid for all that time. And I think possibly someone in his position, they're sort of oblivious to reality for most musicians at this point. You know,
I agree.
he lived the rock star lifestyle, and he probably didn't even realize what position you were in, to be honest, because I think they're.
You nailed this. You know, I got a call while I was on tour with Jean-Luc. We had a break, but I got a call. I forgot. It was Jonathan Cain.
Yeah.
Journey. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm on tour with Jean-Luc. He said, well, can you get a break? We're starting a new band with John Waite.
Jon Waite.
Yeah. So he said, can you come to my house? Well, I was in Ohio. He's in San Francisco. So I said, yeah, well, what do you want me to do? He says, I'll call Neil Sean and we'll get his equipment up here. You come up and play for the day and we'll see if we can make a band. So, okay. So I get on the air. We had like a break, 2-3 weeks, whatever. So I worked out the flight. I go to Jonathan, I picked up, and I played for 8 hours with him and John Waite, and had a blast. Except for John Waite said to me, there's one rule in this band, this new band of ours, is you never mention the word jazz. He tells me. I said, okay. He says, who do you listen to? I said, I listen to Weather Report and this one. He says, what do you think of U2? I said, I don't know. The guy plays like one note. He's good. And he said, I don't know if this band's going to work out if you don't like U2. This is John Waite, man. Wow. But anyway, we wrote some songs together, and but anyway, I get hungry. We're there for, I flew on a full flight. I get hungry, and I walked in. I went to the bathroom, and I went in his kitchen, and I opened up the refrigerator, and there's like nothing, spaghetti and bread. And I said, Jonathan, I'm hungry. It's his house. Tony, it's his house, right?
Yeah.
He said, listen, man. He said, he said, Jamie, let me try to explain this to you. He said, you are a great sideman. You've played with blah, 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 with Ponty, with this, with that. He said, but this is a band. He said, we're members of the band. He said, you're not working for us, you're working with us. He says, you want some food, you could get your own food. This is a freaking millionaire. He won't give me a piece of bread, man. And then it gets worse. It gets worse. Wow. Neil Sean wants the gig, right? Good old Neil. He wants the gig so bad. Yeah. So Neil sends over his custom-made cabinets that have like 8 adapters to make the cable work. Except he doesn't send the cables.
Oh.
So now I'm playing through like some bass amp that Jonathan has in his, because I can't plug my Randall head into his stuff. They're all trying to screw me over, right? But my point is, going back to what you were just saying, when you live the rock star life, when you're a member of the band and not a sideman, not a paid sideman, you do not have the forethought, whatever the word would be, to treat the musicians as you and I get used to.
Yeah, I just think they're sort of oblivious to what the reality of being in your position or my position. Not all of them. I mean, some people know exactly. But in those cases, that's what it sounds like to me. They were so huge and so used to the way they did things that
they came from bands. I remember the complete opposite. I got called to play with. He's a legend. But you've heard of Bobby Vinton?
Oh, yeah. My dad played with Bobby Vinton.
What?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
He's from Canonsburg, PA.
Yeah, I know. Well, So the musical director was Jack Beelan. He was a guy who owned one of those wedding companies. So he said, listen, Bobby's coming. He's going to do 10 shows. You want to play with Bobby Vinton? Of course, Bobby Vinton's a musician first.
Yeah.
I was treated like I was like a fine jewelry by him.
He's a nice guy.
Nice guy, talented as heck.
Talented. And it was his daughter. I think his daughter is a musician too. Is she around?
Not for this.
Okay.
It's a great LA band. Once again, it all depended on whether I read or not.
Yeah.
In fact, the first rehearsal, I was in traffic and I showed up like 3 minutes before rehearsal started. And Bobby's manager said, if you want to do this, you're going to have to be here on time. I mean, I got a reckoning right away, but in terms of the music, yeah. So it's not like some of these other people, and I respect it too. Like I say, I became very close to Jon and his wife, Janie, and very grateful, but it took some work. It took some work.
I'm sure.
He loosened up too. Like by the time we did the first year of touring, he said, why don't you take some liberty over there? Because he wanted me to play the solos off the record as is. And I don't know how to do that. I have really bad. I did a Solid Gold. Remember that show, Solid Gold?
Oh, yeah.
With
the
Ponty?
Solid Gold Dancers.
I swear I look like I just came off like an alien ship. I had to play the guitar part, the solo. It's on a song called As. It's by Stevie Wonder.
Oh, it's a great song. Yeah.
And it's like the only cover song Ponty ever let us do. And I didn't do anything that looked like anything that I played. Like complete. It wasn't just wrong. It was as wrong as you can get. If the guitar part was da 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 da, I went dee 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 like all they needed was subtitles,
Oh man.
Yeah, so I'm not good at it. When we finished the record, Jon says to me, people are going to recognize your solo that we worked on. And that was the other thing, working on solos. Like I'd play a solo, he'd say, can you go up to a high note at the end? I was like, oh, Jesus. Because I didn't know the solo, I was improvising, right?
Yeah.
So I'd have to sit there like for hours and go, what did I play, man?
Well, again, you're coming from a guy that's played jazz in improvisational music. And since he was coming from very composed music,
structured.
It's just a different world. And I'm sure for him, he probably did feel out of place because you guys were very adept at making stuff up on the spot.
I give him credit. He was very impressed when we turned his ideas into music our way. Yeah. And in fact, as we got closer, he admitted that what we did was amazing. And he wouldn't put down his band with Bruford or Steve Howe, whatever, but he showed us. And in the opposite of that was true, especially for me, because I walked in and I told him, I said, look, Jon, I don't know how to play like Steve Howe. I said, I have Roundabout and Owner of a Lonely Heart, pretty much the only two songs I have ever heard on I have one of your Yes albums. I said, I don't play like Steve. And he turned to me, he said, I didn't hire Steve. I said, I hired Jamie Glaser, you be you. Yeah. That was a really big deal,
Sure.
And then, like now he's with the Band Geeks, right? Have you followed it? And
I know Richie. I know Richie. Yeah.
Yeah. These guys, they have learned the parts properly and even maybe better than Yes. And that's exactly, but he didn't expect that of APB. He did Anderson Ponty Band. He didn't want anybody to emulate Yes. That was.
I saw the show. I saw the show, and honestly, I'd have been disappointed if you guys came out and just did a cover band, a Yes cover band.
That was the problem. It could have been a cover band either way, by the way, But there were times since I wasn't a super fan where I didn't know what the heck was going on. Like, there's an album, Topographic Oceans.
Yeah.
Where he does kind of poetry. Yeah. And I was standing to his left, and he just started talking, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, because you have to be a fan to know this, right? Yeah. But he just go off like into the motherland of this, and I'm like, let's just play like, Ponty song now. What do you?
I'll tell you what, though, when I saw you guys, the whole thing was wonderful. It really was. It came across as you guys were one unit, including John. I mean, everything was good. It was really good.
I have a question.
Jamie, you're preparing a new book called The Magic Pencil, and I can't wait to read this. It's about reinventing and reimagining our lives. At this point in your life and career, what does reinvention mean to you?
Every day, if you look at life as if every day is a lifetime, which you can. I've done it. And instead of forgetting that there was a past or thinking about a future that may or may not happen, right? That you're only in today, and this is the whole lifetime. Everything changes. And you have a choice of how you live in that day. Now, you could suggest that your past creates your future, what you've been through, your memories, and that is true. But here's where I have found the most glorious life. And that is that I don't have to be my past. It's different. And I have to realize that if someone says something that's less complimentary or even nasty, that's their problem, not mine. That they're actually talking about themselves. And I'll give you a little example of something in the book about reimagining. Most of us are inspired, influenced by certain people, maybe our parents, teachers, older brothers, sisters, whatever, us as musicians, other musicians, right? And I had a person who was about a block away from me who had a litter of, had a husky, a husky, the dog, the husky. Oh, yeah. Very great dog. The husky had a very close call with a car and was, I'm almost killed. They stitched up the back leg and she could still walk, but there was a positive limp. I mean, the dog, they didn't have to amputate the leg, but the dog was limped, for sure, limped. Anyway, the dog had a litter of puppies. I don't remember if there were 5 or 6, but after they did the breastfeeding and all of the stuff that the animals do, the mother would start to walk and the babies would walk behind her. And guess what, Tony? Every single one of the puppies limped. Mm-hmm. Now, why is that? None of them were in an accident. This isn't genes. This is nothing except that they were influenced by the mother. Yeah. That's how the mother, this is how life is supposed to be. So, what is reimagining? We're told by all kinds of people, this is how life is supposed to be. This is how you have to work, then you retire, then you save, then you die. And I chose, and what I learned more than anything that I'm imparting in the book is you do not have to do that. You do not have to be your mother. You do not have to, you can love your father. My own father, which we talked about earlier in the interview, one of the greatest songwriters in the world. And I heard him do an interview with Sally Jessy Raphael. You remember that?
Yeah, sure. Glasses.
Talk show host.
Mm-hmm.
She was in New York. She was a really big deal on CBS News. And I hated the interview because I chose, even back then, this is a work in progress, to reimagine every day. And I had, I wanted to follow him because he was my greatest mentor. He was a great, respected writer. But my generation didn't adhere to the same rules that writers from the 1940s and 50s did. Mm-hmm. And so it felt guilty to break the chain. But I don't have to be my father. And people who have parents who are not perfect, or a narcissist mother, or whatever, they don't have to be who they were told they are. So I'm teaching in the book, or sharing, even if you want to use that word, how to reimagine each day so you find your own path. And it's helped. It's not helped. It's created a life that's unbelievable. Now, you were in an accident. You had this and that, and the house, all the turmoil. I don't know how much we really share on the podcast, but you had to reimagine what your wife Kay said. You have to learn to love the life that you have. That's reimagining, because it's really easy to be mad, angry. It's really like horrible to wake up and be in pain, as you have shared with me sometimes, have a physical disability of some kind. Mm-hmm. But if you reimagine what you can do, it's exactly what you've done. You should be at the cover of my book, because you wrote music to lift other people up. You play with that wonderful, emotional and hip, it's an old word, cool playing that's timeless. We don't have to sound like Matteo Mancuso. You played melodies that that will kill. When your representative chose Winter Park as the first release for streaming and otherwise, they were very smart, because that track encompasses all the stuff, but it lifts you, and it tells a story. So the book came about because I realized that's maybe my greatest knowledge: how to reimagine, how to not let other people hurt you, to recognize that, sadly, human beings, while they may be supportive, they're not fully supportive. They're supportive, but there's an element of humanity where envy comes in, and that can hurt you, because you want that support. You want that. I sadly was in a romantic relationship for the last 20 years that fulfilled some great things, but on the other side, the nasty stuff really could have taken me out if I didn't reimagine now that life is, that I'm not what she said. That's her problem. I'm not, in no way in the book do I tell you if you're a rude, abusive a-hole, should you tell yourself you're the Pope? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the universe, or if you believe in God, gives us all a beautiful path. It's as if it's waiting for us. It's like the Christmas present under the tree. But if you don't go under that tree and open the present, you'll never know. And a lot of people that I've met in this journey, they never open the present. They see the present. They believe it's probably beautiful. They may even thank the person that they look on the outside. It says, "Love, Tony." They thank you. "Hey, Tony, thank you so much for the present." But they don't feel they deserve the present. They have other things to do. The old "I'm too busy," all this stuff. So this book, The Magic Pencil, what it basically is I include a pencil. I don't know. In meditation, we call it an anchor. So when I learned to meditate in the 70s, they'd have me clench my fist. This was an anchor. This is where I would tell at the end of a meditation, I would say, "And this is the way it is. Not the way I want, not the way I dream it to be, not what could be, what should be, what I have to practice. This is it. It's now." So the magic pencil is that anchor that comes with the book. And I give exercises. Write down stuff. So in the case of the puppies down the block, it's funny because just recently I read on the internet a similar story. I don't know if it was a dog. I think it was a cat litter where the litter did the same thing as the parent. We all want to be like, if you had loving parents, if you're lucky enough to have that, then we want to be like them. We the qualities that we want, but we're not them. A lot of people keep themselves, it's subtle, but you've heard a lot of times parents will say, "I'm working so hard to give my children a better life," right? The thing is that a lot of times that child that they're trying to do a better life for feels indebted to the parent and never does the flourishing, never lets go, never finds their own path because they're always, "Oh, my father worked so hard for me to do this, and he worked 18 hours a day. I should work 20 hours a day because," and I just, the mentors I have, the gurus, there's a guy named Sadhguru. Have you seen him on the internet? He's,
No.
I followed him the last 2 years. Really inspiring to me. Very real, First time I listened to him, he talked about how it only matters that we're joyous. That once we're joyous, it's like you throw a rock in a pond or a lake and it makes ripples, right? We're kind of like rocks, like when I walk outside, if I can give someone a smile, a sense of worth that they're worthy, it ripples. They're happy, or they feel some feeling of completion. That's humanity. Anyway, basically, in a nutshell, the book is there for people to reimagine. I overuse that word. Like what we talked about earlier, Jon Anderson and Ponty doing reimagining what they did. They didn't change the songs, right? They added little embellishments and things they felt brightened it up and made it more modern, or added a lyric. They didn't, take "Owner of a Lonely Heart" and change it into a ballad, And so in the book, I'm not talking about anybody that has to change. We don't tell them you need to go to the gym 20 times a week and do this and then do this exercise. Oh, no. This is subtle changes. And there's nothing in the book that makes anybody into a narcissist. It's all about flourishing in this life. Tony, I don't want to talk for too long, but for those people out there, listening, I am an example of no boundaries. I believe that everything is possible. Or, the common statement is everything that was impossible is now possible. And almost everything we have, everything you look in this room, I'll build a guitar. That was impossible one day. Now it's possible. And if you lean into that, first it's tough, and then you start to believe it, it happens. Mm-hmm. It just happens. My own brother, he's 2 years younger. I call him Mr. Reality, right? It's been, so I'm like I think I told you, he calls me Mr. Feather because he thinks I just float around, and he's Mr. Reality. Everything has a reason, like that. I remember one time I said, why don't you live an abundant life? And he wrote me an email that was like I must have been on LSD or something, right? Because he's Mr. Reality. I said, you just, I use the usual terms with him. Just manifest your future, manifest your day, your happiness. He said, like, manifest this, I got to go mow the lawn. I understand that there are people out there that are reality based.
Yeah.
But my reality is not reality. My reality is that everything is here for Tony Janflone and Jamie Glaser. That we're here. It's just here. Grab it. I'm not afraid to try to grab it. Do I get disappointed? Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. If you don't try, it will never happen. So you have to believe that it's possible.
And sometimes it doesn't always work because you can't change others. You can only change yourself. And I've gone a whole lifetime since second grade, being the center of attention, having accolades. I just read a thing from sixth grade that was talking about my guitar playing, a clipping that my father kept. So when you've done that for 70 years, you get used to it. Your head can blow off your shoulders because Joe Blow next door is not, he's not, he didn't have those accolades. That's not what this is. The thing was that I was taught from a very early age that all I have to do is ask. Ask of myself, ask of God or the universe, and it's given. So the book is about lifting people up that way. They have to be willing to take the pencil and write. I give them an exercise. Who is it that makes you feel bad? Write it down.
Yeah.
And find out how you're going to. And like I say, sometimes you're disappointed. I tried to make my last relationship work with some of the techniques I'm talking about, and it didn't work. But it's not because of me, right?
But you still have the power to choose how you handle your side of it.
Yes.
And we do. We have that. Not to be off topic, but my wife and I have a habit every night. We tell each other at least 3 things each day that we're grateful for.
Wow.
Things that occurred during the day. And I just think it helps you to dwell on good things. Man, it's hard out there, especially if you watch the news. The world's so chaotic and all that stuff. I just think a book like yours is something people need to read. And I can't wait to read it myself.
Well, I appreciate that. I called up the book. It's still got 5 chapters outlined, so I'm not completely finished. But I just read this little part to you. It'll give you a little idea. It says, self-improvement is something we all strive to do, and most of us will all spend a ton of time trying to do so. The problem with so many of the courses and the good ideas is they come from someone else. It's their experience, their perspective, their life's adventure. They are the teacher and we become the students. Then I followed up with the next chapter. Have you ever written a book? Have you ever written down your story, kept a journal? Have you ever tried to put your life, your goals, your dreams down in words. Imagine writing a book about your life. What stories would you tell? While the magic pencil is a book written by me, what it really will be is a book written by you. So you get an idea. This is from the introduction. You have everything you need to find happiness, joy, love, and success. With your magic pencil, you can erase the old hurts and silence the doubting voices in your head. Unleash your full potential and start living the life you're meant to. You will use the magic pencil to find your vision of perfection. You will undo hurts. You will realize that you are the navigator and can do whatever it is you want and need. I won't read you the whole book, but it gives you a better idea than me speaking freely.
It sounds great. I do have a request. When I order mine, can you send me a pencil with an extra large eraser?
Well, if you want to read my words, you'll end up erasing most of them. I would, and it's funny because I have the people out there may not know. I have a social media management company, and I have one of my best friends in my whole lifetime who works alongside me. His name is Don Zickifus.
Love him.
From South Carolina, and I put him through the ringer, man. I was in a group for the Anderson Ponty band. I needed an associate. So I kept posting and I kept looking at the people commenting. And every time Don commented, it was off the charts great. It was warm and compassionate and smart. And he knew about the music business. I was like, who is this guy? And we formed a friendship. Now we're brothers. I don't say like brothers anymore. But it was funny because I rely on Don for a lot of things. It's my company, but only because I own it and I pay for it. But he works hard. And so one day I called him. I said, look, I'm writing this book. Can you do some research and get me a pencil that says the magic pencil on it? I didn't even explain about the book, Tony. I didn't tell him about the book. He thought, and I really just freaking lost it. Get me a pencil that says magic pencil on it. I'll probably need about 1,000 to start. We're on one of these, on Facebook Live. Not Facebook Live. The Facebook Messenger thing.
Messenger, yeah.
He doesn't look that surprised often at this one. Now he's on my tail. Why didn't you finish the book yet? Well, the reason I didn't finish the book was because I don't ever want to be a quack. And I was writing people about if people are not giving you what you need, if they are hurting you verbally, you don't need to be with them, right? You need to become free. You need to use your pencil and say, these people are not filling my heart. And meanwhile, I was in a relationship where every 2 weeks I was becoming, I was hurt. So I couldn't give, Don's on, he says, why don't you finish it? I said, I've got to get over this. I can't give advice just because I'm writing a book. I could have AI write a freaking book.
Right.
So, it's a book. You asked about Justin Clark, if you don't mind me mentioning.
I don't at all, but I want to say one thing.
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry.
Don Zickifus is such a great guy. I don't know if he told you or not, but we had dinner down in the Myrtle Beach area with he and his wife.
Yeah.
And just a great time. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Don and his wife.
I love you, Don.
Yeah,
he said he'd watch. I don't believe him. But now, if it were just me, he wouldn't watch. But since it's the two of us, he may actually watch. So I want to tell this story only because it's the Tony Jamie thing. And I hope that those of you who've watched whatever Tony edits out or in is that you're somehow lifted. Because I'm here to tell you, though, he asked me to be on his show, that he has inspired me. And when you watch his podcast or hear his album or stream his songs, that's what you get. You can't get that from a lot of people. I mean, we already know you go to social media, which I left 5 months ago because I don't want to hear anybody on any political side talk about anything. I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of watching the Facebook obituaries that this person died today, that person's dead, this one's head has fallen off. I just want to live. I'm like a head in the sand thing. But
I missed the one about whose head fell off. I missed that one.
Yeah, we'll find them. I tell a little story about this because I want people to be uplifted. So those of you who don't know anything about Mormons or what we call Latter-day Saints, LDS, I live in Utah. It's not my faith, but I learned as much as I could. I have the Book of Mormon here, which they gave me and embossed with gold. I studied their stuff. I go to their services sometimes. I've sung with their choir. I've played guitar for them, and I like living here a lot. One of the things about the Mormon faith is missioning. Missioning means you go and you try to get people baptized into the religion, which is funny because I grew up Jewish, and in the Jewish religion, we don't want anybody to join us. So it's a complete, it's like, stay away, you're not Jewish, that's the end of it, right? So it's a complete turnaround. Here, the minute you talk to somebody, anyway, I was teaching at a wonderful music school, which is a Juilliard auxiliary university called Snow College, Horn School of Music. It is, I don't know their exact business deal, but it's Juilliard is the hierarchy of it. So I guess it's kind of a satellite school in a way, right? I don't know how much they take from the Juilliard curriculum, nor the money or any of it. But so I was teaching guitar for 9 years there. Great gig. 92 miles from my house. Every Tuesday I drive the 92 miles. It was like going like on the road, like on vacation. I couldn't wait to go to work, Plus in Utah, in case you didn't know it, the freeway's 80 miles an hour. So I was flying, just having a good time. And on the way, you see sheep and deer and pigs and all kinds of stuff. It's always fun, except for the time I got caught with sheep all around my car and I couldn't drive. Hundreds and hundreds of sheep. Anyway, a guy comes in. His name is Justin Clark. And one of the things that people of the LDS faith do, as I said, is mission. That's their goal. So I don't know the age. I think it's 18, but they pay, and the church sends them somewhere. It could be Honduras, or it could be a town in Utah. Their mission is to spread the gospel with people with the eventuality of hopefully getting someone baptized. So I don't know all the details, but I do know that this fellow Justin Clark showed up at the college. He wanted to study guitar. I met with him, and something happened on his mission, which I can't express this enough. It's a very important part of their faith. Mm-hmm. It's an honor, It's an honor. It's important. Anyway, long story short, without detail, because I'm not even sure of all of it, Justin had either a physical ailment or something, and they pulled him off his mission, which is, again, painful for those people who have dreamed of doing a mission. It's a big, 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 big deal. And so he shared that he was on his mission and didn't complete it, and then he went and he talked to one of the bishops, and they did there's a special prayer and a special, it's again, I don't know what they call it exactly. It's a blessing where they kind of ask you, what else would you like to do? What is it in your heart? What do you think God will help you with if there was something else? And he expressed that he would like to try to be in the music business, try to learn to play the guitar. Okay, this is a big deal. So he asked, he said, do you think that I could, very polite young man, do you think that you could teach me to play the guitar so I could do this for my living, raise a family? Very mature, So I took him on. And I had him for 4 years at the school. Without going into another hour's conversation, his family and he called me his musical father. Now, when he started, I don't have children of my own that I know about, so this is a big deal. Yeah. And when he started, he knew a couple of chords. He knew a pentatonic scale, a blues scale or whatever. But during his recital, I was crying. He was a monster. He went on to doing studio work. He plays with the main writer and leader of the band called Due West. They did 10 years ago. They had a song. They still play quite a bit. Country band, and he's in a steady gig with them down in Bryce Canyon. His wife is a fabulous fiddle player, and I spoke to him. I said, it's time that you make your first solo album. And he asked me if I would produce him. I have a studio in my house, and we could do this. And I thought, yeah, I'd be glad to do that. We'll do an EP. So we begin. And what I have to say is I think that I learned more in the 2 months that we recorded than I ever learned in the studio. And what he brought to this house, aside for the fact that he's 26 years old or 28, was magical. He'd do 6 guitar parts that I would never in 5 billion years have thought of. And I'd sit on this chair right in front of this computer just watching him. So what happened was beautiful. The relationship started on the phone as the teacher and the student who graduated to college, who went on to being a pro, to him coming to my house, co-producing a record where I was learning from him.
Wow.
It was, and it's interesting because he doesn't have the mixing and mastering knowledge. So I was still teaching him, but it wasn't this formal thing. This was sharing with the artist. Look, if we do a harmony, I can do this to your vocals. I showed him how Melodyne works and this and all. But the experience of that, I wanted to express that. And anyway, his EP is coming out in July. It's called Broad View. And 4 cool songs, really cool. Very modern, melodic, great guitar playing.
I can't wait to hear it.
He's really good. I could send you pre-tracks, but the reason why I'm not here, because the record's not out yet. I'm not on Tony's show trying to promote his album yet. What I want to tell people is, just like in the book I'm writing, just in like the friendship I have with Tony, is if you want something, you can have it. If you feel stuck, I don't care what it is. You're financially burdened, you have an addiction, your family sucks, this, that, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can break out. Now, I've heard all this crap. It says, that guy who lived in the ghetto in New York, he's just one guy. The rest of the people, they ended up in jail or whatever. It's not true. It's not true at all. There's the only difference between the people in my neighborhood who ended up in jail is that the people that didn't up in jail, they knew there was something more. They didn't expect. Here's the thing. They didn't expect their ending to be death or jail. I can't tell you how many of my friends would say, I'm going to end up in trouble or I'm going to end up dead. It's like, well, those aren't the choices that I choose.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And I don't know what the future is going to bring, because I've been around enough people to know you're alive one minute, you're not alive the next minute. But I'm planning to live to 150 years old. Will that happen? I don't know. And then I read all these horror stories, like I live to 108 and I have no friends. All my friends are dead. My husband's dead.
You know what? You have animals, so you're going to be okay.
And the animals need me. I have parrots that outlive me. Everybody's going to outlive. But I really want you people listening to Tony's great show to know that when you tune into his show or listen or buy his music, you are enhancing your life. You know, now I'm a marketer. I could say all kinds of crap, but I'm here. Now, for those of you who don't know this, because I don't know how this is going to end, Tony and I got on this video thing 5.5 hours ago. And I have to go to dinner. Otherwise, this would be like the moon landing. We'd be talking until this is Thursday.
We did. I want to say, just before you go to dinner, okay? I know we're going to drop some things here, but I think it segues nicely with your book and the reimagining yourself. I know that you love Mr. Rogers, and I do too. And I was actually fortunate enough to record. There was a documentary called Fred Rogers Heroes, and I got a call, and I had to play a nylon string guitar thing underneath a ballerina that was going to be on the show. And I did the recording. I came out. Fred was there.
Oh my!
Fred had his bow tie on, and he talked to me just like he does to the camera every show that you ever saw. He said, I wanted to tell you that was really beautiful. You did such a wonderful job, you know, and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Mr. Rogers, Mr. Rogers himself. And I met him a few times because I used to play for his son, had parties over in the Squirrel Hill area of Pittsburgh.
What is Squirrel Hill?
And I used to play there, and he would come earlier, probably before the party got crazy, but he was always that same guy that you love and I love. He was that guy. And I want to say one other thing. There was a character on there, Handyman Negri, and that is the legendary Joe Negri from Pittsburgh, who's a wonderful, wonderful musician. And he's going to be 100 years old on June. I think it's June 10th. He's going to be 100.
That's a good age. And it's incredible that you got to be to first of all, for him to hear you. So his life was enhanced, but to have that, I have, it's obvious that I'm an enormous fan of his music, his everything, his basic premise that when he talked to the TV, he never thought about the camera. Do you know that? He never thought about the cameras. He directly knew he was in someone's house. And I learned that from him. So when I'm on your show like this, I want the people that are honoring us to be listening to you, us today, that they know that we care. We care. Yeah. I mean, you know, that it's not a joke. We get one time to live. You know, Fred Rogers was always honest. There was one time when I thought this is not possible. Maybe he's a serial killer. You know, it's just too much. But then I have all his DVDs. I got all the collections, everything downstairs, and I watch it. He's still inspiring me to this day. I never feel like he's talking to me like a child, ever. You know, he never talked to children like they were less of a human or less intelligent. He shared what I am trying to share, what you've shared, and you're in except for the one interview where the guy didn't know he was there. I'm sorry, I shouldn't bring that up. You can edit that out. The thing is, when I was checking out your, because I haven't been around, I started to skip a little bit. I wanted to see different things, but I couldn't skip that one because it was like. It was like a Steve Martin.
Some of the comments were funny.
Some of the comments may be funny here, aside from the people who want to kill me about Jon Anderson. I gotta go, my brother. I love you.
Okay, listen. I love you, Jamie. You're wonderful, and thank you for hanging with me today. Okay.
Too. Hope we're gonna do this again in person.
Yes.
You guys are always welcome here. I've got. You can sleep with the chinchillas. I'll give you my main bedroom. Chinchillas poop. Do you know about them? Have you ever had one?
I have never had one.
So they have, this is crazy. Chinchillas have dry poop. There's no uric acid at all. So there's no smell and they're not wet. So I have slept on their poop. I mean, and to show you how what a marketer I am, I wanted to buy a boogie amp. So I was trying to figure out ways to make money quick. So I went on my forum and I started to package the poop that they make in the bedroom because they never stop, right? As fertilizer and good luck.
What did you call it?
Good luck poop. And I had people buy it, man. I had people.
Oh my goodness! For real?
I'm telling you this. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I sold $10 a pack. I made it like $100. So I had 10 sales, but that's mostly because the people on the forum have their own chinchillas. I was selling apple sticks. I would go to they need sticks to wear down their teeth.
Okay.
So I was going to an apple orchard once a week, cutting sticks down, selling them on the internet. I was like, hello, nice to see you. Anyway, you and Kay won't have to sleep on that.
All right. Well,
that's my whole point. Not to.
I'll just. I don't know. I'll bring some.
We don't need
Saran wrap or something.
We don't need the poop story in your show. Zelly, say goodnight to Uncle Tony.
Zelly.
She's giving me the sexy look. You notice that, the sexy look? She looked.
Yeah.
Let me. She wants to go for a walk. Goodbye.
She's cool. Hey, you're awesome.
Hey, thank you very much for today, brother.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Talk to you. Love you too, buddy. Bye. Friends, I sure hope that you enjoyed the time with Jamie Glaser. I sure did. I want to make sure you check out his book, Hear the Silence. Also, I'd like you to give his website a visit at jamieglaser.com. You won't be sorry. Well. Jamie and I are working on that line of chinchilla poop, so we'll let you know when it's up and running. Yeah. Anyway, how about Jamie? I just love him. I just love the guy. So I'm very grateful that he was here, and I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm going to get back on the chat here and say hello. I see the Mr. Prism is here. He showed up. Great to see you. And if I miss anybody, again, I'm saying hi to some of the newer folks. I did see Timothy Flynn. Hello. Sage has been in and out with some spotty Wi-Fi. Hey, Brian, thank you so much. I got to tell you, the minute I met that guy, it was like instant brotherhood. And we've stayed friends for many years. I think we met, I'm guessing it was the early 90s. So that's when all that occurred. And it was surely a fun evening for me when he walked into the club. And we've been friends ever since. So very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all of you out there. I really, truly am, because next Thursday night, you'll hear the story as to why I'm not playing shows currently. And I'm not sure where that stands. But I am creating music. I'm writing, recording. I took a break from teaching for a while. Probably will do that again. But I am thankfully able to make music, because it was sketchy for a bit. I was possibly not going to be here at all or be paralyzed. So I'm grateful to be here, and I'm functioning. So anyway, last night, a couple people asked if I would play the entire song of Winter Park for you guys. So if you don't mind, I'm going to put it on now. This is actually right now is being played, well, kind of around the world. I heard today that it was played in Spain. I know it's getting played in Australia. So Winter Park. This is from my Tone Poems CD, and this is what Jamie was talking about. All right. That is Winter Park from the Tone Poems Volume 1 CD. And Wayne, thank you very much. Yes, that was Curtis Swift, my friend, dear friend, on tenor saxophone. And I'm pretty much on the rest of that song. Guitars, bass, keyboards, drum and percussion programming, that sort of stuff. And I did mix and master it. So sort of a one-man wrecking crew at this point. But thank you. Thank you, Elaine. I didn't get to say hello to you. I appreciate that very, very much. Let's see. Before I take off, Mr. Prism, thank you so much. Sage, you're awesome. Thank you. All right. David Morgan. Great to see you, buddy. If you get a chance and you're in the Pittsburgh area, Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio area, make sure you get out there and check out Dave Morgan. You won't be sorry. Dave is a great guitarist and vocalist, and he toured with the Outlaws, and I toured with the In-Laws. That was a different band, but no, Dave actually did tour with the Outlaws. My band was fictitious. Anyway, great to see all of you, and let me tell you how blessed I am each week that you're coming back. Because right now, since I don't play live shows, this is it. This is my way of keeping in touch with everybody. So I'm thrilled that you're here. Next week, Tuesday night, I already mentioned those folks, but it's going to be Joe Pinciotti, drummer, and Marvin Frock, guitar builder. Both great guys with great stories. Thursday night, I'm doing my neck thing. So the whole story. Then the week after that, I'm going to have Tom Hemby, who's a great A-lister Nashville session guitarist. Another friend of mine. I love the guy. Another guy with a great sense of humor. Plays his butt off. Just beautiful. And his daughter, look her up. Natalie Hemby. She's written tons of songs. Tons. She's a great songwriter, doing very, very well. She's written songs for Little Big Town and Miranda Lambert, among many others. So that would be Tuesday the 16th. Am I right? Yeah, I think Tuesday the 16th. And real quick, I have other guests. And I just mentioned the first three on that list. Joe Pinciotti, Marvin Frock, and Tom Hemby. Then after that, I have Goomby Ortiz, who's wonderful. He's got energy out the wazoo. The guy is the percussionist with guitarist Al Di Meola. He's been his right-hand man for many years. Great player and wonderful guy. Bobby Floyd. Bobby Floyd's a killer keyboard player. He plays piano and just amazing B3, Hammond B3. Then after that, Don Alico Jr., my friend Don, he's a terrific tenor saxophonist. After him is Paul Thompson, great bass player, has a huge YouTube channel. It's called PD Bass. So look it up. It's really great. I would suggest subscribing to him. And I'd also suggest subscribing to Gary Talley. Gary Talley is the original guitarist from the Box Tops. He's another Nashville friend of mine, and he's going to be here. My Baby, She Wrote Me a Letter. You remember that song? Then this next guy, his name's Marino. Look him up. Marino. One word. Okay? He has one song. He has many songs, but he has one song that actually has gone to get 30 million viewers. 30 million viewers. I should do it like Dr. Evil. But yeah, 30 million. It's amazing. So he's coming up. I have some other guys coming up too. They're just not on that list yet. So anyway, Candy is always on here working her butt off. Trust me, she's not getting paid. She's just a friend that's very kind. So if you see her on there, she's just trying to help a guy out. And I've known her for a long time. I know her to actually see her and give her a hug. So she's wonderful. She's a great, great person. And actually, I'm blessed because I know there's a lot of great people that I see on this stream. So I'm very thankful for all of you. And I'm going to say good night. Thanks again to Jamie Glaser. How about it? How about it for Jamie Glaser and the fabulous Zelly? And you did hear the birds in the background, I'm sure. Jamie's house. He's like Dr. Doolittle. He really is. And heart of gold, that guy. Talented and a giant heart. So next week, Tuesday, I hope to see you here at 7 o'clock. Everybody have a great remainder of the week. And spread love, everybody. Like Jamie said, we are like rocks. We are. We're like rocks that are tossed into a pond or a lake and the ripples form. So your kindness, it will spread. So let's be the people that walk the earth that spread the kindness, okay? There's a lot of other stuff going on, and we can make a difference. I believe that with all my heart. So see you guys later. And be well, everybody, okay?